Okay, so CPD, the Therapeutic and SEND Pathway 2, is all about physical therapy. So what you can see here, what you might notice is a trend within all of our pathways. The first session is always going to be an introduction session to the pathway and roughly what it's going to cover and give an overview of that area of need. So within the introduction to physical needs, you're going to have the overview of occupational therapy and physiotherapy. What is that? What that means to our learners across all ages, and how their needs, their physical needs, could affect them in school, but also in their everyday life. So it's all about being in the classroom, in the playground, the barriers to their learning and their physical mobility in and around the building, and how we can address this. The next session that would be being delivered in the pathway is all about fine motor control. So again, this is physical movement and the barriers this difficulty could cause a young person in their life. It's all about the brain development within the science and the neurons, and building and strengthening the pathways in the brain so that they can master their physical skills. Again, it's all about in school and at home. We'll talk through interventions that can be put in place, such as Fizzy for fine motor control. We have all the assessments and the programs, so we would be able to give you that information for you to implement in your schools. And then we would give you idea banks that you can use within the everyday classroom as well, because don't forget, this is all about implementing therapeutic provision, not only taking children out of the class, but also implementing it inside the class as well. The next module is going to be about gross motor control. These are your whole body big movements. So it's going to start off with what is gross motor control. I'm sure Rebecca would explain it a lot better than I would, rather than just big body movements. But it is all about your core strength, the stability of the body. And again, talking about and teaching you about the interventions such as BEAM, which again, we've got the whole program and we can supply that to you so that you can implement it as part of PE lessons. I know that some of the schools implement this as part of their PE, as part of their high quality teaching. And again, it will be about giving you more ideas about how you can develop the gross motor control of the children in the classroom, and also giving them ideas for after school clubs, what they can do at the weekend as well. The next module will be all about sensory circuits. What are sensory circuits and why they are important? The 3 sections and what they mean. I mean, we all know that it's alerting, organisation and calming, but why is that so important, those 3 sections, and what activities can be done within each section? There is a range of activities that can be done. There's the big importance of independence and us creating independence in sensory circuits, especially as they get older. Whether they're doing group sensory circuits or individual circuits. And again, we will show you how to promote that within your schools. And then again, we will give you the ideas banks, the resources to implement this as well. The next module is all about moving and handling. This will be delivered by a qualified OT. And it's all about the safe use of equipment and safely moving learners, whether that is to meet their care needs or whether that is to meet their mobility needs. And you may be sitting there thinking, well, we don't have anybody like that. It's always good to know, because we have movement across our trust. You may be sitting there thinking, actually, I'm in a mainstream school. We don't have any learners with mobility issues, but it might be that you're called to one of the other schools, or you may be interested in doing some work in the other schools. It's always useful to have this information. Module 6 will be visual motor integration. This is your hand-eye coordination. This lends itself to handwriting. It lends itself to various different subjects, catching a ball. It lends itself to eating, self-help skills, and it even lends itself to being in the everyday classroom where they've got to look at a board. They've got to retain that information from what they've read from the board. They've got to retrieve that, process that information, process it, and then write it. It's all about visual motor integration. So we will be teaching you all about that. Modules 7 and 8 will all be about hearing and visual impairments and how this affects our learners in everyday life and in school. We'll be looking at classroom techniques, the resources that you can purchase, as well as looking into what the NHS should be providing for these learners, for all of our learners with any additional needs. Looking at the in-class support strategies, and then working alongside the professionals as well, those multi-agency professionals that are there to support not only the learners, but also the schools. So it's going to be giving you the information and the knowledge of what sort of questions you can ask and how to push to get further support for these children from the NHS as well as what we provide as schools. Module 9 will be all about sensory processing. What is sensory processing? The 7 senses. So this will include the vestibular processes, and which is all your movement, and your proprioception as well, which is your body posture and positioning. So we're looking at the 7 senses. We then look at the interventions, a sensory friendly classroom, and then an ideas bank of how you can implement and support learners in the classroom as well. Again, it's not always about just the classroom. It can be the corridors, it can be halls, it can be the PE hall, it can be the lunch hall. It's looking at the wider school environment as well. Module 10 is about supporting the physical needs in the class, why it's important, how you can do this. And then also it's about measuring results. We don't want to put things in place and just think, okay, it's done. We want to say, is it working? What is the impact of this? Can we do more? Is that child fully included and accessing their education? Module 11 will all be about the multisensory impairments. This is when there is more than one impairment. And we'll be looking at classroom techniques, the resources, support strategies, and again, working with professionals in the wider agencies as well. And then, as always, as Jen said, in the speech and language pathway, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the course, and where you will be, it's going to be, I mean, on here it says opportunity to ask questions, obviously, about topics. You're going to be doing that all the way through all the modules. However, it could also be worked as a workshop, problem solving, solution finding. I've tried this, it's not working. Has anybody else tried it? So we really do want a team effort of all the support staff and the team members who are on this pathway, and as on all the pathways as well. So before I move on to if anybody's got any questions, I'll just wait for Mr. Dadson to stop recording. Has anybody got any questions?